السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Dear Mr. Shemiev, dear Ambassador Popov, first of all, I would like to pass on words of thanks from the chairman of the Russian Senate, the upper house of the Russian Parliament, the Council of Federation, Ms. Valentina Matvienko, to this meeting, as well as thank you for agreeing to have the next meeting of this group hosted in the capital of Chechnya, the city of Grozny. Therefore, I will just try to give you some of my comments in brief. I wouldn't like to stop at the tragic pages of Chechen history that started between 1992 until 2002. I will rather start with the year 2002, with the positive experience we would love to share with our fellow Muslims. In the year 2003, the Chechen people decided to stay within the Russian Federation during a popular referendum. That was a decision to stay inside Russia, not even come back, because Chechnya is effectively never really left. Our opponents in the West would like to weaken Russia from the inside, and that is why they tried to do it using the Chechen case, the Chechen controversy. Only the total confidence and trust shown by the Russian government and primarily by the Russian president, only this trust and confidence toward the Chechen people enabled the Chechen people to get out of this deadlock, the dead end. We were literally set for self-destruction during this path that we were on in the 90s. But a legitimate question comes up: where are those militants? Where are those fighters who engaged in the fighting in Chechnya? During the process of reconciliation, all of those people whose hands were clean of the blood of innocents, they have been able to reintegrate themselves back into peaceful life and go back to their occupations as before the war, to their peaceful activities. Muslim clergy played a very important role in this process of reconciliation by explaining the true ideology of Islam to its parish, the kind of Islam that we received from our great Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. These days, in the modern day world, Islam is associated with terrorism, with suicide bombers, and we all agree that this has nothing to do with Islam as it is. I lived myself in a Muslim country for over 20 years, and now for over 30 years I've lived in Russia. And neither in a Muslim country nor in Russia have I ever heard, this assessment that this is a Sunni Muslim, this is a Shia Muslim, this is a Hanafi Muslim, and so on. It didn't occur to anyone to even raise this kind of questions. There is a mosque in Russia which is attended by both Shia and Sunni Muslims, and no one ever questions the legitimacy of sharing a house of prayer. Today, there are more Hafiz schools in Chechnya today than in Syria. The rate of construction of mosques in Chechnya is higher than in Gulf countries. Even though those countries are, the example of rich Muslim nations. I would like to ask this question from the ulems: who called for jihad in Syria and in Iraq? Who invited young people from Chechnya, from Tajikistan, from Uzbekistan, from other countries of Central Asia and of Caucasus? Who invited them to become shaheeds and go participate in this so-called jihad in Syria or in Iraq. They believed some of the prominent and respected Hafiz, some of the prominent preachers who said that was a holy war going on in the Middle East, but we know that it is not a holy war. I would like also to emphasize Russia's role in the Middle East. Some accuse Russia of aggression in the Middle East. Russia is a peace-loving country that has endured a lot, but there is always a limit to any patience. Russia launched its military campaign in Syria upon an invitation from Syria's legitimate elected president. I don't want to go into the issue of whether his election was legitimate, because if we start questioning that, we could actually ask that question to many other countries, how legitimate their rulers are and how legitimate their procedures were for electing them. The main question is, how do we stop this outrageous behavior in the international arena when a certain country takes it upon itself to decide which regime is legitimate and should stay, and which president or regime must be deposed or unseated. There was even a period when the government of Belarus was declared illegitimate, and the West was calling for its own removal. So when Russia is using its air forces in Syria to support government troops, Russia is thereby primarily defending its own national security against terrorists who can return from Syria to Caucasus at any time, and God forbid they may even go as far up north as Kazan. Of course, we hope greatly on our partners from the Gulf, particularly Saudi Arabia, where we're seeing a constructive trend for a flexible dialogue between the new government of Saudi Arabia and the government of Russia on all levels and in all areas, from the economy to energy trade to politics and so on. So today, both Saudi Arabia and Iran and other Muslim nations can play a role to bring peace to the to several actually Muslim countries such as Syria, Libya, Lebanon, Yemen. And these countries have already suffered a lot, and unfortunately the number of these hotspots keeps increasing. We need to acknowledge that Russia has only had a constructive attitude, and it's thanks to Russia's attitude that resolution to resolve the Yemeni conflict was eventually adopted by the UN Security Council. If Russia really was an aggressive power fighting and combating civilians in the Middle East, there was this wish expressed today to request Russia not to bomb civilians in Syria. But you should know that Russian air forces cancelled their sorties against groups of fighters or rebels in Syria, even though only God really knows whether those rebels are moderate or not moderate. In the words of the Russian president, what is the difference between a moderate rebel and an extremist rebel? Is it that moderate rebels stab people in a nicer way? So today we should leave political ambition. A strong person is someone who can acknowledge their guilt, their fault, and whenever Russia is mistaken, it can always say so. It is capable of acknowledging its own mistakes. Russia officially acknowledged its mistake in Libya, officially saying that yes, we missed out on Libya. We allowed what happened to Libya happen, but it wasn't because of Russia's aggressive action. It was because of its inaction, its excessive confidence and trust toward the West and the United Nations and the international community, when Russia believed that the West would not depose Gaddafi. But what are we seeing in Libya? A lot of people in Libya are probably dreaming of going back to the time of Gaddafi, same as many people in Iraq must be dreaming of going back to the time of the late Saddam Hussein these days. Now, speaking of the prospects for Russia's relations with the Muslim world, today the Muslim world has an unprecedented historic opportunity to strengthen its position and actually occupy a leading position in Russia's foreign trade and economic cooperation by investing more in Russian economy and instead of limiting ourselves to meetings and conferences. Especially at a time when Russia is being subjected to Western imposed sanctions led by the United States. But we know that no one can ever force Russia to change its attitude, not through sanctions, not through any twisting of arms. I would like to thank our partners from the United Arab Emirates who once trusted in the Chechen Republic as a stable region, as a promising region, and as of today over $300 million have already been invested in the construction of universities, roads, infrastructure, universities, and other facilities in Chechnya by our brothers from the United Arab Emirates, and we would like to thank them. And they don't only finance projects, they don't only finance infrastructure, but also finance SMEs, small and medium businesses in Chechnya. As you know, in Russia, religion is separated from the state, from the government, but the Russian government on all levels has supported all the events, all the activities of religious organizations. Sometimes it provides funding and it provides the necessary environment to educate and train a new generation of Muslims who would have the right version of Islam and who would not only know theory of Islam but also its practice as a religion of peace and tolerance. And we will be looking forward to your visit to Grozny. Welcome and thank you.